You are the one they forget to ask. The one who sits at the edge of the table during dinner parties, nodding along, smiling when appropriate, but never quite jumping into the chaos of overlapping voices. You are not shy. You are not anxious. You are something else entirely, something most people misread as passivity, but you know the truth. You are watching. You are calculating. You are running an entire psychological simulation in your mind while everyone else is just talking. And here is what nobody tells you. Your silence is not empty. It is full. This is not about introversion. This is not about social anxiety or low self-esteem. This is about the specific psychological architecture of people who process the world through observation rather than participation. People who have learned that silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is protection. And sometimes, it is the only way to survive a world that rewards volume over depth. Let me show you what is really happening inside your mind. Part 1. The observer identity. You did not choose this. When you were young, something happened. Maybe it was a chaotic household where speaking up meant becoming a target. Maybe it was a classroom where your ideas were dismissed or mocked. Maybe it was simply that you noticed early on that people who talked the most were not the ones who understood the most. So you made a decision, a quiet, unconscious decision that would shape the rest of your life. You decided to watch instead of perform, and over time, this became your identity. Not the loud one, not the charismatic one, the quiet one, the observer, the person who sees everything but says little. And here is the paradox: you became invisible by becoming hyper-aware. This is what psychologists call compensatory observation. When you cannot control your environment through action, you control it through understanding. You map the room. You read micro-expressions. You notice who interrupts whom, who avoids eye contact, who laughs too loud to cover discomfort. You are not passive. You are gathering data. You are building a mental file on every person in the room, cataloging their patterns, their insecurities, their power dynamics. And this is exhausting, because while everyone else is just existing in the moment, you are performing a kind of invisible labor. You are managing the emotional temperature of the room without anyone noticing. You are the one who senses tension before it erupts. You are the one who knows when someone is lying, when someone is hurting, when someone is pretending. You see the things people work very hard to hide, and you say nothing, because you learned early that seeing too much makes people uncomfortable. Part 2. The silence is armor. Let me tell you what your silence really is. It is not fear. It is not meekness. It is a highly sophisticated defense mechanism, a psychological shield you built to protect something precious inside you. Because here is what you discovered, probably in childhood. The world punishes vulnerability. You watched the people who spoke freely. You watched them get mocked, dismissed, misunderstood. You watched confident people get torn down. You watched sensitive people get labeled as weak. And you made a calculation. You decided that the safest place to be was in the background. Not invisible, but not exposed. This is what Carl Jung called the development of the persona, the social mask we wear to navigate the world. But for you, the mask is not performance. It is removal. You do not put on a character. You subtract yourself. You become neutral, agreeable, easy to overlook. And this works. For a while, people think you are sweet, non-threatening, low maintenance. They feel comfortable around you because you do not demand attention. You do not challenge them. You do not force them to confront anything uncomfortable. You are the emotional equivalent of beige wallpaper. Pleasant, forgettable. But inside, you are not neutral. Inside, you are a storm of thoughts, opinions, observations, and judgments. You have entire conversations in your head that never make it to your mouth. You rehearse what you would say if you felt safe enough to say it. You imagine scenarios where you finally speak up and everyone listens. But then the moment passes, and you stay quiet, because the cost of being misunderstood feels greater than the cost of being unseen. Part 3. The psychological weight of constant analysis. Here is what nobody tells you about being the quiet observer. It is mentally exhausting. While other people move through social situations with ease, you are running a background program that never shuts off. You are analyzing tone. You are tracking body language. You are predicting how people will react before they even speak. You are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And this hypervigilance comes from somewhere. Psychologically, this behavior is rooted in what is called environmental scanning, a survival mechanism developed in unpredictable or emotionally unsafe environments. When you grow up in a space where emotional volatility is the norm, you learn to read the room as a way of protecting yourself. You learn to detect danger before it arrives. You learn that attention is survival, so you became excellent at it. Too excellent. You can walk into a room and within minutes, you know who holds the power, who feels insecure, who is pretending, who is in pain. You can sense tension that others miss entirely. You can predict conflicts before they happen. And this skill, this acute sensitivity, feels like a gift and a curse, because you cannot turn it off. Even when you want to relax, even when you want to just be present, your mind is still scanning, still analyzing, still preparing for threats that may never come. You are exhausted by social situations not because you are introverted, but because you are doing the emotional labor for everyone in the room. And no one notices. Part 4. The misinterpretation. Here's the part that hurts the most. People think they know you. They think your silence means you have nothing to say. They think your calmness means you have no depth. They think your agreeableness means you have no opinions. They mistake your restraint for emptiness. And this is the cruelest irony of being the quiet one. You are the person in the room with the richest inner world, and everyone assumes you are simple. You are the person with the sharpest observations, and everyone assumes you are not paying attention. You are the person with the most to say, and everyone assumes you have nothing to contribute. So they talk over you, they interrupt you, they finish your sentences, they ask everyone else for input and skip over you entirely, and you let them. Because correcting them feels like too much effort. Because asserting yourself feels like breaking character. Because you have spent so long being invisible that visibility feels like violence. This is what psychologists call learned invisibility, a pattern where you become so accustomed to being overlooked that you start to facilitate it. You make yourself smaller. You edit your words before you speak them. You disqualify your own thoughts before anyone else can. You become complicit in your own erasure. And the worst part, you resent it. You resent the people who dominate conversations. You resent the people who never ask you questions. You resent the people who assume your silence means agreement. But you do not say anything. Because resentment is safer than confrontation. Part 5. The internal world. Let me show you what is actually happening inside your mind while everyone else is talking. You are not checked out. You are not disengaged. You are running a constant internal commentary that is smarter, funnier, and more insightful than anything being said out loud. You notice the contradictions in people's arguments. You see the logical fallacies. You catch the moments when someone is lying to themselves. You have entire essays forming in your head about the dynamics at play, but you do not speak. And this is not because you lack confidence. This is because you have learned that your thoughts are too complex for casual conversation. You have learned that the depth of your observations makes people uncomfortable. You have learned that when you do speak, people either misunderstand you or they feel threatened by how much you actually see. So you stay quiet, and you build an entire universe inside your own head. This is what makes you dangerous in the most beautiful way. You are not performing for anyone. You are not seeking validation. You are not trying to win arguments or prove your intelligence. You are simply existing in a richer psychological space than most people have access to. And this is lonely, because the people around you are living on the surface, and you are living in the depths. They are content with small talk, and you are craving meaning. They are satisfied with being seen, and you are desperate to be understood. But understanding requires vulnerability, and vulnerability requires trust, and trust requires proof that people can handle what you are actually thinking, and most people cannot. Part 6. The fear of being seen. Here is the paradox that defines your life. You want to be seen, but you are terrified of being exposed. Because being truly seen means showing people the complexity of your mind. It means revealing that you are not passive. You are protective. It means admitting that your silence is not emptiness, it is curation. It means letting people know that you have been watching them, analyzing them, understanding them in ways they may not be ready to accept. And what if they reject that version of you? What if you finally speak and they dismiss you? What if you share your thoughts and they call you overthinking, too intense, too serious? What if you reveal the depth of your inner world and they prefer the quiet, easy version of you that asks for nothing and threatens no one? This is the emotional gamble you face every time you consider speaking up. And most of the time, the risk feels too great. So you stay in your shell. You stay in the role of the observer. You stay safe. But safe is not the same as fulfill. Part 7. The projection here is what you need to understand. People do not see you. They see a projection of their own needs. When someone calls you quiet, they are not describing you. They are describing their discomfort with your silence. When someone says you are shy, they are not reading your emotions. They are filling in the blanks with their own assumptions. When someone treats you as passive, they are not acknowledging your strategy. They are interpreting your restraint through the lens of their own insecurities. And this is why you feel so misunderstood. Because you are not shy. You are selective. You are not passive. You are strategic. You are not empty. You are full of thoughts that people are not ready to hear. But because you do not perform your personality in the way society expects, people assign you a role that has nothing to do with who you actually are. And over time, you start to internalize this projection. You start to believe that maybe you are too quiet. Maybe you should speak more. Maybe there is something wrong with you for not being louder, bold, more assertive. You start to measure yourself against people who are nothing like you, and you feel like you are failing. But you are not failing. You are just existing in a world that values performance over depth. Part 8. The power of the observer. Let me tell you what you actually have. You have a superpower that most people will never develop. You have the ability to see people as they truly are, not as they pretend to be. You have the ability to read between the lines, to detect the unspoken, to sense the emotional undercurrents that everyone else misses. You have cultivated a level of psychological insight that comes from years of watching, listening, and analyzing. And this is rare. Most people go through life on autopilot. They do not question their own motives. They do not analyze their patterns. They do not see the ways they manipulate, avoid, or deceive themselves. But you do. You see it all. And not just in others. You see it in yourself too. You are aware of your own contradictions, your own defenses, your own flaws. And this self-awareness, this brutal honesty with yourself, is what separates you from the crowd. You are not quiet because you have nothing to say. You are quiet because you have learned that most conversations are not deep enough to accommodate what you are actually thinking. Part 9. The loneliness of depth. But here is the cost. You are lonely, not in the way that extroverts are lonely when they are alone. You are lonely in rooms full of people. You are lonely in conversations that never go beneath the surface. You are lonely when people assume they know you based on your silence. You are lonely because you are surrounded by people who cannot see you. And this loneliness is not solved by talking more. It is not solved by forcing yourself to be louder or more outgoing. It is solved by finding people who value the same kind of depth you do. People who do not need you to perform. People who appreciate your silence as much as your words. People who understand that observation is not passivity. It is intelligence. But those people are rare. And until you find them, you exist in a strange kind of isolation. You are present but not seen. You are engaged but not heard. You are full of love, insight, and understanding. But people only see the surface. And this is exhausting. Part 10. The coiceso here is the truth you have been avoiding. You have a choice to make. You can stay in the role of the observer. You can stay safe, invisible, protected. You can continue to analyze the world without engaging with it. You can keep your thoughts to yourself and avoid the risk of being misunderstood. Or you can take the risk. You can start speaking, not loudly, not performatively, but honestly. You can share your observations, your insights, your depth. You can stop editing yourself before you speak. You can stop disqualifying your own thoughts. You can stop assuming that people cannot handle what you have to say. And yes, some people will not understand. Some people will be uncomfortable. Some people will prefer the quiet version of you that asks for nothing and threatens no one. But some people will not. Some people will hear you and feel relief. Some people will recognize the depth in your words and feel less alone. Some people will value your perspective precisely because it is different from the noise. Some people will see you, truly see you, and appreciate the complexity you have been hiding. Here's what I really want you to understand. Your silence, it's not a flaw. It's a feature. It's the natural result of a mind that processes things deeply. A mind that values meaning way more than just noise. That truly gets the weight of words. You're not broken. You're not missing some crucial part. You're just operating on a different frequency than most people. And guess what? The world desperately needs that. The world needs people who listen more than they speak. It needs people who observe before they react, who think before they talk. The world needs people like you, who exist in the depths while everyone else is just skimming the surface. But to embrace this, you have to stop seeing your quiet nature as something that needs fixing. You have to stop measuring yourself against people who are louder, bolder, more performative. You've got to stop internalizing the labels and projections that people put on you. And you absolutely must stop believing that your value is determined by how much space you take up in a room. Because your value isn't in the volume of your voice. It's in the quality of your presence. So, what does it look like to integrate this new understanding? Here's the key. You don't become someone else. You don't suddenly force yourself to be loud or abandon your identity as an observer. No, you simply add to it. You learn to speak up when it truly matters. You learn to share your incredible thoughts, but with people who have actually earned the right to hear them. You learn to tell the difference between silence as a form of protection and silence as a form of avoidance. You learn that being quiet is a powerful strength, but being silent about things that matter is a loss, both for you and for the world. You start to understand that you can be both the observer and the participant. You can watch and engage. You can listen and speak. You can protect your energy and still be vulnerable. You don't have to choose one or the other. You can be both. And this, right here, is freedom. It's freedom from the role you've been playing for so long. Freedom from the heavy expectations others have placed on you. It's freedom from the deep-seated belief that your silence somehow makes you less than. It's the freedom to exist exactly as you are, without apology, without explanation, and without ever shrinking yourself again. This leads us to the final realization. You are not just the quiet one. That's not who you are. You're the one who sees what others miss. You're the one who feels what others are too scared to feel. You're the one who thinks things that others can't even begin to articulate. You are not less than the people who dominate rooms with their loudness. You're operating on a level they don't even have access to. And the moment you stop seeing your silence as a weakness and start seeing it as the very foundation of your depth, everything changes. Everything. You stop waiting for permission to speak. You stop editing yourself into invisibility. You stop buying into the lie that loudness equals value. You start trusting that the right people, your people, will recognize your depth without you having to perform it for them. You start understanding that your presence is enough, even when it's quiet. So the real question isn't, why are you so quiet? The real question is this: what truth are you protecting by staying silent? And what incredible things would happen if you finally decided to let it out? Thanks for watching.